June 18, 2025, a date that will be remembered as a turning point in the Middle East, a region already marked by decades of tension and uncertainty. The Middle East sky is no longer peaceful. Missiles and sirens now fill the air, shattering the quiet of the night. The once familiar sounds of city life have been replaced by the roar of rocket engines and the wail of alarms, echoing through empty streets. The shadow war between Iran and Israel has erupted into open conflict, shattering any sense of security. Explosions light up the horizon and the threat of violence feels ever present, touching every corner of daily life. In Israel, the Iron Dome intercepts waves of missiles, but some get through, leaving chaos behind. Emergency responders race against time, searching for survivors amid the rubble, as families anxiously await news of loved ones. In Iran, Israeli airstrikes have turned military sites into ruins, bringing the war home in a way never seen before. The devastation is visible from above, smoke rising from bombed bases, the landscape forever altered. Families in Tel Aviv and Tehran huddle in shelters, anxiety and fear their constant companions. Underground, strangers become neighbors, united by a shared hope for survival and a longing for peace. The psychological toll is immense. Children count seconds between sirens and impact. Parents struggle to comfort them. The trauma of war leaves invisible scars, shaping a generation's memories and dreams. With over 380 Iranian missiles fired at Israel in just 5 days, the region teeters on the edge of catastrophe. Each new barrage raises fears of escalation, as leaders on both sides weigh their next moves. The world watches, wondering how much worse it can get, and what will remain when the missiles stop. As dawn breaks over battered cities, uncertainty hangs heavy in the air, and the hope for peace feels more distant than ever. Today's war is the result of over 40 years of animosity, a bitter legacy that has shaped the destinies of both nations and the wider region. The spark was ignited by the 1979 Iranian Revolution, when Iran transformed from a monarchy allied with the West into an Islamic republic fiercely opposed to Israel's existence. Once, Iran and Israel were quiet partners, sharing intelligence and economic ties. But after the revolution, their relationship soured, turning into a shadowy and relentless rivalry, fought through proxies, sabotage, and covert operations. Israel, fearing Iran's nuclear ambitions, targeted Iranian nuclear scientists and critical systems, launching daring operations deep inside Iranian territory. In response, Iran armed and funded groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza, using them to pressure Israel and expand its influence across the region. For years, both sides avoided direct war, preferring to fight in the shadows. But the rules have changed as tensions have escalated. Recent attacks have been bold and unmistakable, with missile strikes and drone attacks targeting each other's territory and vital assets, shattering any illusion of distance or safety. Israel's fear of a nuclear-armed Iran has driven it to take ever greater risks, launching preemptive strikes and investing heavily in defense systems like the Iron Dome. Meanwhile, Iran, under mounting international pressure and sanctions, has grown more aggressive, determined to assert its power and break out of isolation. The Shadow War's illusion of control has vanished, replaced by a dangerous unpredictability as both sides push the limits of confrontation. Now, the rivalry is open, with the region's stability hanging by a thread. World leaders watch anxiously, aware that a single miscalculation could ignite a much larger conflict. Years of covert operations have given way to a cycle of direct retaliation, with each strike answered by another, drawing in new actors and raising the stakes. The fire has escaped the shadows, threatening to consume not just Iran and Israel, but the entire Middle East, as millions brace for what comes next. April 2025 marked the moment Iran and Israel's shadow war became a direct, terrifying reality. Iran launched over 80 ballistic missiles at Israeli bases, a bold, unprecedented move. Israel's air defenses intercepted most, but the attack shattered old boundaries. Israel struck back, targeting Iranian military sites deep inside the country. For Iran, it was a gamble to show strength. For Israel, a test of its defense strategy. The exchange set a new precedent: direct state-on-state warfare. The lines of conflict have been redrawn, locking both nations into a dangerous cycle. The region now faces open war, with catastrophic consequences looming. The true cost of war is felt by ordinary people in Tel Aviv and Tehran. In Tel Aviv, sirens halt daily life. Families rush to shelters, children lose sleep, and fear lingers in every silence. A missile strike on a school, even when empty, sends shockwaves through the city. In Tehran, Israeli airstrikes shake neighborhoods, forcing civilians to hide as bombs fall nearby. Already burdened by sanctions, Iranians now face nightly terror and deepening hardship. Both cities share a relentless anxiety, living under skies filled with fire. Food and medicine grow scarce, and hope feels distant. The war's victims are not soldiers, but families caught in the crossfire. Their shared humanity is overshadowed by the terror of survival. As Iran and Israel trade blows, the world responds with alarm and division. The UN calls for a ceasefire, but its influence is limited as fighting rages on. The US urges restraint, torn between supporting Israel and avoiding deeper conflict. American leaders debate involvement, reflecting a war-weary public. Russia blames Israel and the West, strengthening ties with Tehran. China urges dialogue, seeking to counter US influence. Europe pushes for renewed diplomacy, warning against military escalation. Global powers are divided, making a unified response impossible. The result? A diplomatic stalemate as the world watches, unable to stop the violence. Beyond missiles, a silent war rages in cyberspace. Iran and Israel have escalated cyber attacks targeting power grids, government systems, and critical infrastructure. Israeli cyber attacks plunge Iranian cities into darkness. Iranian hackers retaliate by disrupting Israeli networks. Drones and sabotage add to the chaos, with mysterious explosions at sensitive sites. This digital conflict blurs the line between war and peace, inflicting damage without clear attribution. Cyber and drone warfare allow for constant, invisible aggression. Soldiers and hackers wage war from afar, shaping the conflict's future. The silent battlefield is as crucial and dangerous as the one above ground. The greatest fear is that this war could ignite the entire Middle East, drawing in countries and groups far beyond the original conflict. Tensions simmer on every border, and the risk of a wider regional war looms over millions of lives. Hezbollah in Lebanon, with its vast arsenal and deep ties to Iran, could open a second front, forcing Israel into a dangerous and unpredictable multi-front war. The threat of rockets and cross-border attacks keeps the region on edge. Iranian-backed militias in Syria and Iraq, or Hamas in Gaza, could escalate the conflict further, launching attacks that would draw in more fighters and resources. Each new front increases the risk of chaos and devastation. Neighboring Arab states watch anxiously, fearing destabilization, economic collapse, and a humanitarian disaster that could spill across their borders. Leaders scramble to contain the fallout, while ordinary people brace for the worst. The relentless cycle of attack and retaliation makes peace seem ever more distant. Each strike deepens wounds and hardens hearts, making reconciliation harder to imagine. International calls for de-escalation have so far failed to change the calculus of war. Diplomatic efforts stall as violence escalates, and the world watches with growing concern. Only bold diplomacy, creative solutions, and an immediate ceasefire offer hope for breaking the cycle. Without urgent action, the window for peace may close. Civilians, families, and children pay the highest price, their lives shattered by war. They endure fear, loss, and uncertainty, hoping for a return to normalcy that seems ever more elusive. The path of violence leads only to more suffering and hatred, leaving deep scars that may last for generations. Peace, dialogue, and a recognition of our shared humanity are the only way forward. The future depends on the choices made today.